Cam Willy Winkler. I'm going to go through all the parts individually, show you how they've been machined and finished, and then we're going to put one together. Okay, the headrest. The headrest vertical, one of the sides. Here's the other one. Now, we can look at how they've been machined. All of the curves have been radiused. I've been very careful to keep the places that are joints nice and crisp and sharp, not sanding those over too much, so that all of those rebates fit nicely together. This piece is the top of the headrest. It's been radiused on all the curved sides. It's been countersunk there and countersunk there, and it's been finished and sanded. This bit is the bottom of the headrest. It's actually also the top of the spine. So the vertebrae will sit into there, and the sides of the headrest will sit into either side there. This has all been countersunk with the same depth, sanded and finished. The inside face on the headrest piece has got a radius on it. Onto the ribs. There are 5 ribs. This is number 1 rib, the top rib underneath the headrest. It's got countersinks here. It's got a radius on this outside face, but the inside face touching the skin has been left flat. It's got M5s on the inside for taking the metal plate to trap the seatbelt, and it's got M6s threaded inserts if you're using a leather harness. That's where you trap that on. The rest of the ribs are the same. Number 2, the widest rib. Number 3, the next one down. Number 4, starting to curve inwards. And number 5, a little bit chunkier and fatter. These are the vertebrae. There's 12 of them. They're all slightly different, but they've all got a leather strip super glued onto the base, an M5 threaded insert put into that little rebate there. The straight edges have been left flat, and this inside curve has been radiused off. A little bevel on that inside face, sanded and finished. This bit guides the bungees down to the back swing arm from the top of the spine. Onto the pelvis. These are the 45-degree horizontals in the pelvis. They provide the structure. There's a little detail here that will take an emergency stop if you start adding electronics and force feedback into your suit. It's been countersunk, radiused on the curved edges, and these have been left nice and crisp and shouldered, so that when they fit into that rebate, it's a very tight, snug fit, and those corners fit right down into the bottom. A lot of strength from that. This is the back plate of the pelvis. It's had 2 M6 threaded inserts put in here for the plate at the bottom of the spine, holds the seatbelt on. These 2 little curves have been radiused. Everything else has been left nice and crisp, so it fits into those rebates. This is the top of the pelvis. It's been sanded, radiused on all of the outside edge, but left flat on the inside edge where it comes into contact with the body. It's had M6s here, not M5s, because this is taking the buckle at the bottom of the spine, and it's also had some M6s threaded inserts put on the sides here, 3 on each side, and they are for holding the belt of the harness. It's been countersunk on the top, and it's been left nice and crisp on the inside. This is the W of the front of the pelvis. It's had 4 M6 threaded inserts put in to hold the legs of the harness. It's been nicely radiused and sanded. All of these holes have been countersunk on both sides. They take the bungee cords. It's been left nice and crisp at the top where it fits into that rebate. These are the 2 left and right main uprights of the pelvis. They've had an inside edge taken off here at 45 degrees. Most of that surface, in fact. They've been countersunk for the bungees on both sides here. This entire outside edge has been radiused, but this has been left nice and crisp and flat. Sanded and finished. These are the swing arms. These are a bit different to the ones that you'll have. Experimental. We're trying to get them sprung so that you bounce back to the middle. This is the kingpin. This is the adjustable kingpin. It's got a clamp in the middle, and this bit's telescopic and slides down. This is the nylon spigot. This sits at the bottom of the tube, the kingpin, and goes into the bottom bearing. This is the seatbelt that is all of the strength of the spine. It's had the end folded over, and it's been stitched up so that that is the top of the spine and it can't retreat in, and then you know the buckle at the bottom is where you put it down tight. This is a standard building harness that's been slightly adjusted. We've cut off the metal work, 3 big Ds, and the plastic crossover at the back has all been cut out. It's also had some holes punched through here and then finished with a lighter so that they seal up. That is where it bolts into the pelvis. These are the plates that attach the seatbelt into the spine. You can see they've been bent to a very specific width, which is the exact width of the metalwork. There's 6 of those. They've been countersunk, filed and finished. This is the buckle at the bottom of the seatbelt. This attaches into the pelvis and holds the seatbelt, which is the whole strength of the spine. This is the bearing at the very bottom of the exit suit. It sits on the baseboard and it has a 45mm internal diameter. This is the bearing that sits on the top of the box, underneath the floorboard. It's trapped in a little sandwich. It's got a 90mm outside diameter and a 50mm inside diameter. This is a little cam lock for the door on the base. These are the 60mm countersunk 10mm bolts, M10s. These are 2 coach bolts, M10, 75mm long. They hold the pelvis onto the swing arms. These 2 coach bolts are M10, 55mm. They hold the swing arms to the kingpin. These are M6, 20mm long furniture fixings. They hold the harness into the pelvis. These are M5, 20mm long countersunk bolts that hold the metal plates into the spine, trapping the seatbelt. These are countersunk M6, 60mm bolts that hold the base floorboard onto the base. These are the screws that hold most of the skeleton together. They are 30mm long, number 5. Some fat screws. I like to use Torx head bits. These are the screws that hold the base together. They're 50mm long, Torx head bits, again, nice and fat, number 5s. There's also a few of these in the suit. They're 30mm long, 3.5 screws, so nice and thin, also Torx. This is the bungee. 8mm, you'll need 6 meters. 4mm, you'll need 15 meters. These are the brackets. They've had M6 threaded inserts put in one side, and they've had that inside curve here beveled off slightly. The backs have been left nice and sharp, and there are 8 of those in all. These are the feet. There's 8 of them, and they've been countersunk on one side. This is the piece that fits underneath the floorboard and traps the top bearing. This is the piece that fits underneath the bottom of the base box. It's had big countersinks put on that side. The rebate on this side is for any wiring passing up into the suit. This is the door on the base box and its little latch. These are the sides of the base box. Some of them have got exit suit logos. They've been beveled on the top edge, even though that's going into a rebate, but left nice and crispy sharp on the bottom. They've been beveled on the sides, just ever so slightly, but the text has just been sanded. Some of the sides have got logos, just a light sanding on that logo, bevel on the top edge and sides, but leave the bottom bit. One of the sides of the box has an opening, and that's where the door goes. Now, if your plywood isn't 18mm, it means that your swing arms will not completely fill that 36mm gap. And in that instance, you need to cut some little PTFE packers. These are 1mm sheet PTFE. Top ones and bottom ones are just big washers. And you're going to need some basic tools for assembly. Socket set for your M10 bolts, something to snip your bungee cord easy, some Allen keys I find useful, and you're going to need a cordless drill. This is for putting the screws in, but also importantly, doing the pilot holes. And these 2 big discs are the baseboard and the floorboard of the base. If you've got questions about the project, get on the Discord. If you want to support the project, get on the Patreon. And if you want to download the plans, get on the GitHub. Like and subscribe!